So the main reason you're here is because there is friction and clashes within your family, and you would like to fix those, which I completely understand. And you have tried different parenting techniques. You've tried gentle parenting and agreeing with them, disagreeing with them, being angry, not being angry, and nothing seems to work. And part of the reason for that is that a lot of the techniques that you're going to find online are designed for neurotypicals. So neurotypicals think linearly. And so you have this, and then you have this, and then you have a repercussion, and then you have this, and then you have a change in behavior, and then you have this. ADHDers are more like, yeah, let's just mix that up a little bit. So sometimes I'm going to respond positively. Sometimes I'm not going to respond at all. Other times I will blow up. We don't know. It's a crapshoot. So you are up against it and you have a puzzle to figure out. And the neurotypical parenting techniques don't work. So consequences, they're a part of life. Absolutely. If they are too far removed from the situation, they won't have a lot of impact on your ADHDer. So your ADHDer is a lot like a puppy. If you catch them in the act of peeing on the carpet and you say no and you take them outside, they get the connection. If you find your puppy and you find that they peed on the carpet and you take your puppy over to the spot and say, no, 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 and you put them outside, they have no idea what you're talking about. So you need to change the way you approach things. So other things that you might have tried are like super harsh punishments right in the moment. Taking everything away, locking them in their room, taking their door if they keep slamming it, super extreme things. And what I have found in my experience is that that is seen as a challenge. So ADHDers dig in and they absolutely will not change their mind. So when you come at them full force, they are coming back at full force. And I'm not sure exactly why that is. It's just what I have found in my experience. And I don't know where that comes from. I wish I did. I wish I could wave a magic wand and make that go away. But that's what I have found in my experience is that if you dig in, they dig in. And it's a losing battle for everyone. So you have this bad behavior. So let's see if we can reframe that so that it's a lot less frustrating for you and hopefully we'll bring it down for your kids. So the bad behavior is them being frustrated. It is them trying to communicate something that they don't have words for, even though some of the words coming out of their mouth seem like they do have quite the vocabulary to express how they're feeling. They are generally frustrated and or scared. So when a kid is thrashing about or calling you names or refusing everything, they, generally speaking, are trying to have control over their little environment. They feel like things are out of control, and it could be because when they go to school, they are in a situation in which they know at some point during the day they're going to get called out. And they get called out at school, and they are not necessarily given instruction as to how to not do that again. So there isn't a lot of teaching how to not do it. It's just being called out when it happens. And if you have girls in particular, they can be feeling out of control because their thoughts are out of control. So a lot of girls for ADHD, it is in their mind much more than in their body, and it's too much. So when you come at them with a demand, as far as they see it, a high expectation, whatever it may be, it's just one thing too many. And because they feel safe with you, because they know you love them, they thrash and they lash out at you, either verbally, physically, or both. So reframing that to recognize it as they're trying to tell you something, they're having difficulty articulating what they want to say. So that's one part of it. And then the other part of it is also recognizing that no matter what they say, no matter what they do, it's not personal. They're trying to make it personal. I know that. They call you names, they say mean things, but it is absolutely not personal. It is totally back to where they are coming from. So if they are scared or they are frustrated and they start calling you names, it has nothing to do with you. I know that's really a hard one to wrap your head around, but if you can come into interactions with your kid knowing that them thrashing is not you. You are you, regardless of what they say or do. So keep that in mind when you're interacting with them. And another way to also think about or to kind of change your energy in going into interactions is to remind yourself, and this sounds like it's too simple, but it does actually work. Take a deep breath and remind yourself, I love you, you love me. I love you, you love me. And what that does is it brings it back to the surface that you do in fact love your child. And you know that. They know that. Everyone knows that. But sometimes when you say it out loud or in your brain, it just brings it to the forefront and you can calm some of you down. So when you're feeling triggered or you're feeling irritated or frustrated or, oh my God, I can't believe we're doing this again. And you remind yourself, okay, I love you. You love me. We're in this together. How can we solve this problem? Then you have a completely different dynamic than them coming at you saying, rah, 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 and you coming back with, what? Rah, 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 rah. So that's a clash. Whereas if they're coming at you, rah, 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 and you're like, I wonder what that means. I love them. They love me. How can we solve this together? What are they trying to tell me? So that's one shift that you can make, is just changing your perspective to the situation, in that it is not personal. It is all about where they are and where they think they are and whether or not they think they have any control over where they are, and reminding yourself that you do love each other and you are both on the same team. So what we need to do is come up with different ways to approach the situation. And one of those ways is to, when things are calm, talk about a time that was not calm and give that a name. So complete blow up, late for school, can't get their stuff together, and they just fall apart. Okay, let's talk about that after school, after they've had their snack, and everybody's calm. Okay, so this morning, you completely lost it, fell apart, we were late, kind of a dynamic that happens every morning. What does that feel like? I don't know. Just try. Like if it was a color, what color would it be? If it was a Muppet or a character in a book that they like, what would it be? Get them to name it. So then when it happens again, you can say, oh, is this the Cookie Monster? Is this what we're dealing with? And they'll stop and think, yeah, we talked about this. Cookie Monster. And as soon as you do that, you guys are on the same team. As soon as you do that, you're on the same team. So it's like a secret code. It's like you guys are both on the same team and you know what the word means, and then you can move forward. It gets them to pause. They have to stop for just a second and remember what Cookie Monster means, and remember that whole conversation that you had about it, and remember everything that you said you would do to help them when Cookie Monster showed up. And that pause is what is pure gold. That pause is what will save your relationship with your kid. So coming up with common vocabulary for situations that seem to pop up a lot, or emotions that seem to pop up a lot, is a great tool to have in your toolbox. It teaches your kid a few different things. First of all, they know that you two are part of the same club. And it also gives them a chance to calmly look back on the situation and see what they can do possibly, what they can do differently, but also that you were there and that you get it because they've had a chance to explain it to you. And again, that's part of that feeling like you're on the same team. And it's just hugely impactful. So anytime you can come up with a common phrase or a word that represents something bigger, that represents a whole big conversation that you've had, it makes the ADHD brain pause. It's a little bit of a puzzle, which they love. Pause, remember the definition, and then come back to the situation, and they're looking at you completely differently because now you guys are using that shared vocabulary. So that's one thing that has worked astoundingly well in our house and has worked for a multitude of clients that I have shared that with. So that's another way to try to mitigate the situation. So talk about it when you're calm, come up with a name, and then in the middle of it, you're gonna have to be the leader of the band. You're gonna have to ask if it's that name. And they will hopefully take a beat, and then you can start to change the dynamic. If they continue thrashing and they actually can't hear you, then I recommend for the very physical kids, I recommend getting a pillow, a cushion, something that they can thrash on, and just as you're handing, this is pillow time, this is thrashing time, here you go, and let them thrash. Because I know there are some kids that their eyes roll back in their head and they're gone. The parents can't get through to them, they can't hear anything, they barely remember the incident because they are so enraged or frustrated or whatever comes up for them. So give them something to beat up so that they can move their body, get it out to a certain extent, and then start to calm down. And as they get stronger in recognizing this happening with the pillow beating, you can turn it into a game. So you can give it a name. Is this a punching bag time? You give them the punching bag, and then they count their punches. And they might be counting really, really, really fast. They might count up to a very high number, but they're engaged in it completely differently than just thrashing. They're actually paying attention to what they're doing. They're counting, which gets their brain to think about only the counting, not the thing that was really upsetting to them, and it calms them down more quickly. And then the game is, how low of a number can we get before you're able to calm down and stop punching the pillow? Come up with some common vocabulary for stuff that comes up on a regular basis, and try the punching pillow if it is a kid that just seems to have their eyes roll back in their head and they're not there anymore, and they need a way to physically move without hurting themselves or hurting you. If you've watched this far, it must have been interesting and or helpful. I hope both. So it should shift your perspective just a little bit on your kids' behavior, and maybe you can come at situations a little bit differently, and or giving you some tools to help reduce the friction in your house. If you would like to work together and dig a little deeper, there is a link below to schedule a call. And if you mention that you made it all the way to the end of this video, I will give you 10% off of my Focus for Family Harmony program. It's a 3-month program to get you from chaos to calm and clarity. And we work together to understand all the moving parts of your family, your goals, and how you're going to get there.